sign any sort of international treaty, Congress then needs to approve it or ratify it. All right, and we need 3/4 of the country to say, hey, that's good. We're okay with that treaty. That didn't happen. So since we didn't ratify it, that also meant we didn't join the League of Nations, which was part of the Treaty of Versailles. And without us in the League of Nations, it was pretty weak. Okay, a lot of people say that the United Nations today, which is the modern version of the League of Nations, is also very weak. But this was even more exaggerated than that, because without us, they had absolutely no use of force, and therefore there's like no power, right? So if they wanted to tell Germany, hey, stop making tanks when you signed the treaty that said you wouldn't make tanks, okay? There's no real military threat in the end of the day, right? It's just kind of a big pushover. All right, so that was part of the problem with the League of Nations, is that it didn't really have much power, and a lot of the strongest countries in the world, such as the United States and the Soviet Union, were not involved in it. Okay, can I move forward, or do you need another second? Okay.
Move backwards.
Okay, the next slide that pops up will also go in the same box. Does everybody understand that?
Yeah.
It will go in the same box. Okay. So France is also going to start getting very paranoid about their security. So what they're going to end up doing is strictly enforcing those reparation payments from Germany. So they're worried that Germany is going to build another army. So what they want to do is make sure that they pay their reparations. Why would like their insecurity or their paranoia make them like? Why would forcing Germany to make reparation payments? Why would that fix that? They were worried about Germany's army.
Because if they're spending money to paying the reparations, they can't spend money to build like an army.
Very good. So they're using their money elsewhere. What do you think's going to happen if they keep forcing them to pay the reparation payments? Think they'll be able to pay? No. Okay, it's kind of like if you tried to make a bet on a basketball game with someone with no money, right? Even if you win, they're probably never going to pay you because they don't have it. All right? And that's exactly what's going to happen here. Germany can't pay, and because they can't pay, France never gets their money. So they decide to take an area of Germany called the Ruhr Valley, which is an area that has a lot of coal. Okay, so they're gonna take another rich natural resource area from Germany in response. Like, well, you agreed to pay us. Since you can't pay us, you got to give us your coal mines. So the Ruhr Valley is an area right along the border of Germany and France that is rich in coal and natural resources. So now all of that potential earnings that Germany could have gotten is going to France.
Wait, when you pay back reparations, would you pay like kind of like a mortgage where you pay once a month, or like once a year, like once every 10 years?
They can set the agreements, however, you know. But yes, it is like similar to a mortgage, right? There's payments, right? They didn't expect, hey, $33 billion right now.
Well, why did they take Germany's probably most profitable land if they still needed money for it?
So they took it. It's a good question, but so then they'll get the money from the coal mine, so like it would balance out, right? It would be like let's use that basketball example. Okay, let's say you bet somebody $100 on a basketball game, right? And you win, and they won't pay you, but you really like their watch. Maybe they give you their watch instead of actual money because they don't have money. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Okay, and so it's going to make it so Germany can't recover, but also it'll make it so France feels like they got what they deserve. Yes, Jake.
I'm so confused like what the League of Nations did.
Well, it didn't really do much of anything, but the purpose of it was just to have representatives from each country meet together and peacefully discuss conflicts between countries, so there wasn't wars. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. So we're to go back to that little discussion we had at the beginning of class. Right? In Germany, since they're paying all these reparation payments and they lost their coal mines and all that, one of the things they're going to try to do in order to pay the reparations is just print out more money. Right? Now that's not going to work very well. Now there is a little bit of math behind it that actually does help. So if you inflate your currency a lot, right, it doesn't instantly inflate. So it takes, a couple months to feel the effects, so to speak, for the money to get into your economy. So if you print money out and send it to France, there is a delay where you will actually be able to pay back the reparations a little bit. However, in the end, it's going to end up costing them and making their way of life basically impossible. So if you wanted to go to the store and get a loaf of bread and a gallon of milk, okay, at the peak of German hyperinflation, you'd take this whole cart down the street to try to buy your necessities. All right. It got so worthless that kids would use it as building blocks and toys, and people would even use it for firewood because it was worth less than firewood. So it did become have such little value that it essentially became worthless.
When they burned, weren't they like counteracting the hyperinflation?
Yeah, in a way, but it had gotten so extreme to the point where it did not really matter. Yeah.
Were they using the German franc at this point?
It's called the mark. German mark.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what would they do to get like supplies?
It was rough living in Germany, right? You could trade a ton of that money and maybe get something, but it was really hard for anything to stay in business. Just to give you an idea of how much it inflated, in 1914, the year World War I started, if you compared it to United States dollars, okay, 4.2 marks equaled $1 US. So, let's say a loaf of bread costs $3, it would be 12 marks. In 1923, at the beginning of the year, it was 130 billion marks for $1. And then even later on to the year, it hyperinflated to the point where it was 4.2 trillion marks to $1 US. So it basically became completely worthless. I don't know how many of you guys pay attention to current events. Does anybody know what country is going through a similar thing right now? Where? Venezuela. Very good. Is that what you were going to say? Yeah. So Venezuela, they're kind of doing similar things. You see people making artwork out of their currency, the bolivar, because it's so worthless. Yeah.
So I read an article of how some South African diplomat, something like that. He said, since how the nation's kind of poor. So,
What, Venezuela?
No,
South Africa?
Yeah. Yeah, the guy said they just print more money, make everybody rich.
That's a bad idea. Yes, Mike.
What is the value even in money for?
Huh?
What is the value in money?
What do you mean?
Exchange.
Like, how does money have value? Like dollar bills and everything.
Because we put value on it.
It's like in country.
Do you know what I'm saying? So, essentially, one second, Jake. Essentially, right, a dollar bill has no value if nobody sees the value in it, right? But if we see that, $3 is worth a loaf of bread, it has value to us because we need to eat. But if all of a sudden they print so much money that it doesn't really have, I would never sell you a loaf of bread for 4 marks because it's not that much, there wouldn't be value behind it. You know what I'm saying?
I think of a better explanation.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
So say everybody has a million US dollars, and when you have $3 to buy that loaf of bread, if everybody has a million, that $3 wouldn't really make a dent, so they're going to charge more.
Right.
So everything just becomes more expensive.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
So why is it so hard to make money?
What do you mean make money? It's easy to make money. They just print it out.
No, like actually
Oh, to earn it?
Yeah.
Can you go back?
Because it has value.
It has a high value.
Because we think that our currency, the dollar, is worth something. So in order to make it, you have to work to get it. Otherwise, it wouldn't have nearly as much value. Do you know what I'm saying? All right. So these next things will go on the right-hand side. There are 3 things to put for international policies. Okay. The first thing is the Dawes Plan. Okay, the Dawes Plan was a plan designed by the United States in which they gave a $200 million loan, the U.S. did, to Germany. Okay, they saw how bad the currency was getting, how bad the quality of life was, and they figured this was not sustainable, so they gave them this loan. They're also going to fight to reduce the reparation payments so that this way German citizens have a chance to survive, because living conditions in the country have become essentially unlivable. This is a good thing. It's going to lead to a period of 5 years of European prosperity. Now, what's kind of interesting about this is if they give this loan to Germany, where does the money end up? Yeah.
In the other countries.
Okay, yeah, so they give it to Germany, and then Germany has to pay the United Kingdom and France back, and then the UK and France actually owed us money from sending them all these war materials, so they were in debt to the US, so they then gave it back to us. So it was really kind of goofy because we gave them money and it eventually just comes back to us, came back around because all the other countries were in debt.
But technically, couldn't we just give Germany a bunch of money? Then it'll just all of it will end up coming, or most of it will end up coming back to us.
That's exactly what we did. We gave them $200 million.
Over and over again?
No, but I know that's a bunch of money. But so anyways, just from giving them that money though, and the way it's circulated around, it does still help the German economy, and basically all of the economies of Europe for 5 years. Okay, why does it stop helping in 5 years? Does anyone know what happens in 1929?
Oh, inflation.
Yeah. The stock market crashes, causing the Great Depression.
Wait, Coach P, where are we supposed to write this down?
I already told you.
Those 3
Okay, so the next one is the Treaty of Locarno. The Treaty of Locarno guarantees or secured the border between France, Germany, and Belgium, saying that it's not going to change. So even though France took the Ruhr Valley recently, it's never going to change again. It's keeping it the same. Also, it lets Germany join the League of Nations, which is a big deal because they've been excluded from it forever, and now they can finally join it. And also, it makes people believe that these European countries will actually get along and stop being warring nations, because they're actually making some peaceful progress. And with Germany being in the League of Nations, it seems like maybe it would actually be more useful of an international tool. But this being said, even though it sounds great and things are looking in the right direction, things are going to change in just a few short years. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Can I go forward?
No.
Okay, the next thing is going to be the last international policy we talk about. And this is the most ambitious and wishful thinking maybe in modern history. So the League of Nations